Miscommunication. Ray Burrell comes down with the steal. And Monique Billings makes him pay on the other end.
A head coach doesn't just disappear midway through an international tournament. Coaches don't ghost their own bench without something serious going on behind closed doors. But that's exactly what happened with Kara Lawson, the Team USA head coach during the FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament in Puerto Rico, especially after her treatment of superstar Caitlin Clark. With 3 games left, she was suddenly gone, and Nate Tibbetts of the Phoenix Mercury was now running Team USA. What changed? What actually happened in that locker room or in those front office conversations? Do you think Kara Lawson sabotaged Caitlin? Let me know in the comments below. Here's where it gets interesting. There was a plan going into this tournament. That plan had Caitlin Clark, the most exciting player in women's basketball right now, coming off the bench, not starting in 4 out of 5 games. Consider Game 1 against Senegal. Clark came off the bench, played limited minutes, and still broke 5 FIBA world record in that game. She posted the highest assist total ever recorded by a USA debutante in a FIBA qualifying game. Records that had stood for decades were gone in one night. Kara Lawson's response was to put her back on the bench for the next game. The offense in those first 2 games was slow and deliberate. Half-court sets, veterans handling the ball, the pace of a team that was not trying to run anybody off the floor. And there is a philosophy behind that. Stephanie White, who is both the Indiana Fever head coach and a Team USA assistant, has been open about wanting Clark to play slow, off-ball, more controlled. White wants Clark to fit into a system rather than be the system. So the offense grind along. Clark rotates in and out, and the team is winning, but nobody is lighting anything on fire. Picture this. You have a player who just shattered 5 world records coming off your bench. Your offense is moving at half speed. Your starting guards are running sets that eat 20 seconds off the shot clock before a shot goes up. And your best decision maker in transition is sitting down. That is not a coaching philosophy. That is a puzzle with the wrong pieces in the wrong spots. Clark's game runs on pace and quick reads. She sees the floor 2 seconds ahead of most defenders. When you slow that down, you do not just limit Clark. You make the whole offense worse because now defenses can set up and take away everything. The early box scores showed it. The team was functional, but never explosive, never getting into that rhythm where the other team just cannot keep up. Then came the Puerto Rico game. Clark's minutes got cut even further. Puerto Rico ran a box and won against her, dedicating an entire defensive scheme to taking her out of the game. And it worked. Not because Clark is not good enough, but because the offensive system around her had no answers. The team looked stuck. Commentators noticed. Fans were furious. If you watched that game, you felt it too. This was not working, and everyone could see it except the coaching staff. But that is not all. Even through all of this, for games on the bench, a box, and one designed to erase her, a system built for someone else, Clark still led Team USA and plus minus and efficiency for the entire tournament. Let that sit for a second. Bench minutes, limited role, restrictive system, and she still outperformed everyone on her own team in those 2 categories. She also led the entire tournament in both stats, not just Team USA. She led the whole field. After Puerto Rico, Lawson steps up to the press conference microphone and a reporter asks her directly about Clark's role. Lawson pivots. She says everyone on Team USA should shine. She does not mention the records. She does not address the minutes. She does not explain anything. Just a non-answer and move on. That right there tells you everything. 5 world records broken. A team that is clearly better when Clark runs the offense. And the head coach will not even say her name when asked point blank. Then, just like that, Lawson stops showing up to games. Game 3 tips off, and Nate Tibbetts is standing on the Team USA sideline in a polo shirt, calling timeouts, drawing up plays. Kara Lawson is simply not there. No announcement from USA Basketball. No press release. No statement saying she stepped away for personal reasons or had a scheduling conflict. She's just gone. Tibbetts is the head coach of the Phoenix Mercury. That is his job. He had no official role with Team USA heading into this tournament. So, The fact that he is suddenly the guy with the clipboard running the huddle, making substitution decisions is not normal. Coaches do not just wander onto international tournament sidelines because there was an open seat. Someone put him there. Someone made a call. USA Basketball said nothing publicly. No update on loss and status. No explanation for the change. Nothing. When an organization goes that quiet about something this visible, it usually means the answer is something they would rather not say out loud. So, the internet does what it always does. People start pulling clips, lining up timelines, connecting dots. The dots are not hard to connect. Lawson disappears right after the Puerto Rico game. Right after that press conference where she would not say Clark's name. Right after the Clark situation had turned into a full national conversation about mismanagement and wasted talent. The rumors that started circulating were pretty direct. USA Basketball looked at what was happening on the floor and decided it was a problem they could not let keep going. The Caitlin Clark situation specifically had become something the organization did not want, attached to their brand heading into a World Cup cycle. Whether it was the record she broke while sitting on the bench, the Puerto Rico press conference, or something said behind closed doors between players and staff, nobody is officially confirming any of it. But the timing makes it really hard to argue this was a coincidence. And then Tibbetts does something in his very first game that Lawson had not done once across 3 games. He puts Caitlin Clark in the starting lineup. That is his first move. Clark starts. Team USA beats New Zealand by 55 points. 55 wiki. Clark plays 23 minutes, posts 14 points and 6 assists, 0 turnovers, and the offense looks nothing like what it did under Lawson. The pace is faster, the spacing is cleaner, Clark is pushing in transition, teammates are getting open looks early in the shot clock, and the whole thing just flows. One coaching change, one decision to start Clark and run the offense through her, and the team goes from grinding through box and 1 defenses to winning by 55. That is not a talent upgrade. The roster did not change. The players did not get better overnight. The system changed. Clark in the right system looks completely different from Clark buried in the wrong one. Tibbetts also does not dodge questions about Clark after the game. He is straightforward about the approach. Guard-heavy lineups, Clark running alongside Kelsey Plum, Paige Beckers operating in space, the ball moving and the pace up. He talks about Clark the way a coach talks about a player he actually wants on the floor. It is a noticeable shift from what had been coming out of the previous press conferences. So, look, nobody from USA Basketball is going to come out and say Lawson was fired because of how she handled Caitlin Clark. That is not how organizations talk. But the first decision Tibbetts made tells you exactly what USA Basketball thinks the problem was. Picture this. You take over a team mid-tournament. You've watched the film. You know exactly what's been going wrong. And one of the best floor generals in the sport is sitting on your bench. What do you do first? Tibbetts' answer was simple. Start Clark. Run the offense through her. Let her see the floor and make decisions at speed. That's the whole adjustment. No complicated scheme, no long installation period, no easing her in. Just put her in the starting lineup and let her play basketball the way she actually plays basketball. The New Zealand game shows exactly what that looks like in practice. Clark starts, plays 23 minutes, and scores 14 points with 6 assists and 0 turnovers. Team USA wins by 55 points. The margin is almost beside the point because of how it happens. Early in the first half, Clark is already pushing in transition, finding teammates before the defense can set up, creating clean looks that were not there in the first 2 games. The spacing opens up immediately because defenders have to account for her at speed. And when they do, everyone else gets easier shots. Now, some people will say New Zealand isn't a tough opponent and a 55-point win doesn't prove the system works against real competition. So, let's look at the full tournament numbers instead. Clark led Team USA in assists plus minus and efficiency across all 5 games. And she led the entire tournament in plus minus and efficiency. Not just her team, every single player from every single country in the field. Those numbers cover every opponent, every game, including the one she spent on the bench. So, the argument that the blowout was just a mismatch doesn't really hold up when the data runs across the whole tournament. Tibbetts puts Clark alongside Kelsey Plum and Paige Buckers in the backcourt. 3 guards on the floor at the same time, all of them capable of handling the ball and making decisions. Italy has no good answer for it. USA wins by 34 points, and the offense genuinely looks fun. It has pace and personality. The ball moves, the floor is spread, and Clark is operating exactly where she is most dangerous, in space, making reads, creating for others before the defense can rotate. That guard-heavy approach is the bigger stylistic shift Tibbetts brings in. It is not just a Clark adjustment. It is a full philosophy change. Smaller lineups, faster pace, more ball movement, more decisions happening at speed. And that style works specifically because Clark's skill set makes it possible. She is the one who can push it in transition and still make the right read. She's the one who can get into the paint and dish out before the help arrives. The whole system breathes differently when she is running it. Under Lawson, the offense asked Clark to fit into a structure that was already decided. Slow it down, play off the ball, operate within the system. Under Tibbetts, the structure gets built around what Clark does naturally. Push pace, make reads, create for others, and punish any defense that tries to slow things down. Those are 2 completely different starting points, and the results on the scoreboard reflect exactly that difference. So by the time the final game of the tournament tips off, Clark is starting playing the most minutes on the team, and the wins are stacking up by 30 to 50 points. The tournament MVP conversation is not really a conversation at that point. 14. That's the number 14. FIA world records in 7 days, and she spent most of that time coming off the bench. Let's talk about how this tournament actually played out game by game. Game 1 against Senegal, Clark comes off the bench, plays limited minutes, and breaks 5 world records in one night. She posts the highest assist total ever by a USA debutante in a FIA qualifying game. She posts the highest assists in a debut across the entire tournament's history. Records that have been sitting untouched for decades. Gone in a single game by a player who is not even starting. Team USA wins, but the offense never really gets going. It is functional, not dominant. Game 2 is more of the same. Clark is back on the bench. The offense stays slow and more records fall anyway, because that is just what she does when she is on the floor. The Puerto Rico game is where it all comes to a head. Her minutes get cut, the team struggles, and the whole thing feels like watching someone try to win a race with one shoe tied. Then Tibbetts takes over, and Game 3 looks completely different. Clark starts against New Zealand. The offense runs through her, and USA wins by 55. Game 4 against Italy, Clark runs the backcourt alongside Plum and Bears, and USA wins by 34. By Game 5, Clark is the story. She is starting. She's playing the most minutes on the team, and nobody is seriously arguing about the lineup anymore. You cannot deny Caitlin's performance when you zoom into the most valuable player numbers. Clark led Team USA in minutes, points, 2-point field goal percentage, free throws made and attempted, assists, plus minus, and efficiency. Then she led the entire tournament in plus, minus, and efficiency. Every player, every country, the whole field. She is 22 years old, and she just became the youngest player in FIA qualifying tournament history to win Most Valuable Player. And again, for games coming off the bench. So the question that just sits there is, what do those numbers look like if she starts all 5 games? What if Tibbetts is running the show from Game 1 instead of Game 3? Because what she put up while playing a backup role is already historic. The starting role version of that tournament might not even have a comparison point. But that's not all. Clark's presence moved ratings for this tournament. A global shift. Sponsorship conversations shifted. The WNBA's next collective bargaining agreement is getting negotiated right now. And Clark's international market value just got documented in a way that's impossible to argue with. Teams and sponsors don't get to pretend anymore that her draw is just a domestic thing. It's on the record now. And Fever fans specifically need to be watching the Stephanie White situation closely. White is Clark's head coach in Indiana heading into 2026. She was part of the staff in Puerto Rico. That wanted Clark playing slower and off the ball. This tournament just ran a 5-aim live experiment on exactly that question. The first 2 games were under that philosophy. The last 3 were under Tibbetts, who went the other direction. The wins were by 55 and 34 points. The results are not subtle. Every fan who said Clark was being mismanaged was right. Every analyst who looked at the box scores and said the math does not add up was right. The coaching change is USA. Basketball admitting it out loud without actually saying the words. 14 world records, a tournament MVP, and a head coach who quietly disappeared. None of that is a coincidence. And Clark is 22, just getting started with a full WNBA season in Indiana coming up, where she is finally the unquestioned centerpiece. Kara Lawson is gone. 14 world records are on the books, and the youngest FIBA qualifying tournament MVP in history is 22 years old. The Indiana Fever head into 2026 with a coaching staff that just watched up close what happens when you do not build. Around Clark, Stephanie White was right there on that sideline. She saw all of it. So, if you watched this tournament and felt vindicated, you should. The fans were right. The numbers were right. USA basketball eventually figured it out too. Do you think Kara Lawson sabotaged Caitlin? Let me know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.